Residents from the Denver temporary shelter in Johannesburg South say they've lost all their belongings after 2 days of heavy rains. The structures were erected as a temporary housing for the victims of the Usindiso building fire out in Marshalltown that claimed almost 80 lives in August of last year. Now, some of the 500 displaced residents were relocated to that area in November. Human rights activists and residents have raised concerns about the infrastructure and lack of drainage at the temporary settlement.
In August last year, the Usindiso building in Marshalltown in the Johannesburg CBD was engulfed in flame in the early hours of the 31st, leaving over 80 people dead and almost 500 people displaced. They've since been moved from various different temporary shelters. Now in November, they were brought to this temporary shelter here in Denver, in the inner city of Johannesburg. It is in the middle of an industrial area. Shacks were erected. The square metered one-bedroom shacks were erected to house those that had been displaced, not just from the Usindiso fire, but from other fires that had taken place in the inner city of Johannesburg over the few years, leaving many people displaced. What you remember is that the Usindiso building was deemed to have been illegally hijacked, and those that had been living there had been living in an abandoned building, one that is a caricature of the Johannesburg CBD and not a unique incident. This incident just highlighted some of the issues of lawlessness, but also the housing issues in the inner city of Johannesburg. When this community was moved here into this temporary shelter, there had been various concerns that were raised with regards to security, infrastructure, but also most concerning was that when it rained, that this area could be submerged in water. And yesterday, when that downfall in the Johannesburg area took place in the late afternoon, this area was submerged with water, leaving many people once again with their belongings damaged and lost as well. I want to bring in a community member, Pumlani. You are staying here in Denver at the moment at this shelter. Let's just talk with, how did you end up here?
Oh, we've been moved from Usindiso building when it was burned. After that, we were moved to Wembley, from Wembley to Kalami, to Wharfland. After that, we have been moved here in November. Yes.
How has this been experienced, just that movement for you, being so displaced, being moved around?
It was not so good because where we were moving Wembley, we couldn't cook for ourselves. We had to enter by 6 o'clock. If we don't come by 6 o'clock, the gates will be locked. Yeah, it was very, very bad.
Can you talk to me about what happened here last night?
There was fire here. There was there was rain. Rain entered almost all the rooms here, and there the rain had an earthquake destroys, because here we are living in is the what can I say this? Is the basement. So the basement it cracked yesterday. Some people, they were injured. Some water entered inside the house. They had nowhere to sleep. So it was very, very, very bad.
And just this experience after going through the fire and now having this again, for you, how has it been?
It has been bad. I haven't enjoyed it since then. Because most of us are working in Jozi, some of us are hustling in Jozi. From Jozi to here, some of us can't even raise money for ourselves. You see, there was nothing. They are not helping us with nothing. There's no job opportunities. You are being stuck. It feels like you are being thrown away, you see. Because the president promised 3 buildings in town. From then, we've been moved to shelters, to shelters, to shelters. After that, they send us here.
Thank you so much. That was Pumlani, one of the victims of the Usindiso fire that took place in August last year. If you remember, quite a deadly fire, one of the deadliest that South Africa has seen in a residential building. Almost more than 80 people being passed on. As you've heard, many still missing, many still unsure, where their loved ones were. That building was deemed inhabitable. It was a shelter that was then happened to become an abandoned building over time. It was used as a place to house either young boys, also young girls who found themselves either on the streets or with no other home to go to. It then became that building that we saw become engulfed in flames in August last year. Those victims now, almost 500 of them, left without a home, left without many of their valuables, losing also their livelihoods as well, losing family members, and that trauma, being repeated as they move from shelter to shelter. Here now in the Denver temporary shelter that was erected for these victims, it's a space that has raised many concerns with regards to just the habitability of it. And now yesterday we saw that flooding taking place, and once again these victims having to pick up their lives once again and try and rebuild.